As we've said many times before in the past, quarterback is the most important position in football. And boy golly, this season has really exposed some teams who are in desperate need of change at said position.
I would move on from Daniel Jones. I just don't think, I don't think he's special. I think he's an average quarterback.
Over the last 2 years, we've seen a plethora of big-name quarterbacks switch teams. Tom Brady, Cam Newton, Phillip Rivers, the list goes on and on. Well, 2022 shouldn't be any different. About 1/3 of NFL teams desperately need to replace their starting quarterbacks ahead of next season. And we've outlined the perfect target for those QB-needy clubs. So, let's get right into it. New Orleans Saints, Russell Wilson. There's a case to be made that 2021 was by far the best coaching season of Sean Payton's career. Yes, this guy won a Super Bowl and took the Saints to 3 NFC title games between 2006 and 2018, but in 2021, he managed to keep New Orleans competitive throughout the season with 4 different starting quarterbacks. That included a blowout win over Aaron Rodgers' Green Bay Packers, utter domination of the New England Patriots on the road, and a season series sweep of the defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. In other words, this team is set up nicely in the post-Drew Brees era. Alvin Kamara, a stout O-line, and a resilient defense will keep them in playoff contention for years to come. However, adding an established long-term starting QB would make the Saints a legitimate Super Bowl contender once again. And it just so happens that a future Hall of Famer named Russell Wilson is widely expected to hit the trade market in the offseason. In case you forgot, he reportedly had the Saints, Dallas Cowboys, Chicago Bears, and Las Vegas Raiders on his short list of potential destinations. The Seattle Seahawks look poised to enter a rebuild following their first losing season in the Wilson era. If he was unhappy with management following a 12-win season in 2020, well, you can only assume that he'll want to be traded even more now. The Saints will have to perform some tricky cap gymnastics, but seeing how loaded this roster is, we can't imagine Peyton and GM Mickey Loomis not wanting to at least pursue a Wilson deal. Yes, it's gonna cost multiple first-round picks and a lot more, but hey, it's gonna be worth it. Franchise quarterbacks don't grow on trees, you know, and Wilson would arguably make New Orleans the team to beat in the NFC. It just feels like the perfect fit on paper. Wilson would finally have a top-tier offensive line and a crafty head coach who could make the most of his talents. Make it happen, Nola. Denver Broncos, Aaron Rodgers. Last offseason, Rodgers reportedly grew disgruntled with the Packers and sought a trade. The Raiders, Denver Broncos, and San Francisco 49ers were reportedly on his wish list. Vegas seems pretty happy with Derek Carr, and the 49ers just traded up for Trey Lance. So that leaves the Broncos as the best and most likely landing spot for A-Rod. You know, if the Packers had to move him. Rodgers admitted that his relationship with GM Brian Gutekunst has improved. The team reworked his contract and granted Rodgers special requests to reacquire old friend Randall Cobb. And seeing how dominant the Packers have been once again in 2021, well, it's pretty tough to imagine Rodgers truly wanting out in the offseason. But hey, anything is possible! If Rodgers is still disgruntled enough with Green Bay management and seeks a trade, the Broncos need to be all over this. They boast a top 5 defense and a ridiculous set of offensive weapons. Last time Denver acquired a Super Bowl winning QB/MVP/future Hall of Famer, it worked out pretty well for them. We'd like to think that John Elway and even Peyton Manning could deliver some excellent pitches to Rodgers in order to entice him to write the next chapter of his career in the Mile High City. Again, this is only if Rodgers is still unhappy and wants out. If that ends up being the case, Denver should meet whatever Green Bay's asking price is. He would totally make them the team to beat in the AFC. Carolina Panthers, Deshaun Watson. If he's still around, 2022 is going to be a make-or-break year for Matt Rule. Plain and simple, he's supposed to be an innovative offensive genius, yet the Panthers' offense has stunk over his first 2 years there. Rule is undoubtedly facing the pressure, and he's got no choice but to go all in for a QB this year, following the failed Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, and Cam Newton experiments. The Houston Texans will undoubtedly trade Deshaun Watson this offseason. Lots of teams will be interested, but the Panthers Panthers have the most incentive and arguably the most trade assets to make a deal work. And Carolina will have another high draft pick they can offer Houston in 2022, plus more. Could the Panthers offer one of their young stars on defense like Jeremy Chin or Brian Burns perhaps? If the Panthers can complete a trade for Watson, they'll be ready to challenge for the NFC South right away. Like the Saints, they're essentially a star quarterback away from making the leap. Detroit Lions, Sam Howell. With the way Jared Goff's contract is structured, the Lions will have to keep the 2016 first-round pick on the roster for at least another year. It doesn't mean they should pass on the idea of nabbing their QB of the future come draft time. The Lions are most certainly taking one of the two pass-rushing phenoms, Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau. But the good news for GM Brad Holmes is he'll have an additional first-rounder from the Matthew Stafford trade, as well as his own second-rounder, which will be early in the round. So, why not use one of those picks to take a chance on one of the many enticing QB prospects of 2022. North Carolina product Sam Howell especially stands out here. If the Lions can improve their supporting cast, and they're off to a good start with TJ Hawkinson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and DeAndre Swift. But if they can continue to build this offense, Howell could find himself in position to succeed right off the bat in Motown. New York Giants, Kenny Pickett. Yeah, we know. Reports have stated that the Giants aren't going to part ways with Daniel Jones or Joe Judge. But this is also the same organization that said they weren't trading Odell Beckham Jr.
Everything I say is a lie. Except that. And 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 that.
Daniel Jones isn't the guy. Plain and simple. After 3 seasons, you'd think they would get the picture already. With 2 early first-round selections in this year's draft, the Giants can't afford to take a quarterback. Pittsburgh product Kenny Pickett should be the Giants' target, should they decide to pursue a quarterback in the early rounds. Unlike Jones, he displays phenomenal accuracy and great poise in the pocket. I'm just saying, Pickett never threw double-digit picks in his 5 seasons at Pittsburgh, and his ball security should especially entice the Giants after everything they've been through with Jones. Atlanta Falcons, Matt Corral. The Falcons would be wise to cut ties with Matt Ryan and find a new QB to build around. Something that many thought they would do a year ago. For the second straight year, Atlanta will be in good position to find a successor for Matty Ice in the first round. And this time, they need to go ahead and pull the trigger by grabbing Ole Miss signal caller Matt Corral. Corral has a high skill set. His ability to damage with his legs is something Ryan obviously lacks. Corral would add another element to Arthur Smith's offense that already has a couple of superstars in Kyle Pitts and Calvin Ridley. An offensive-minded coach like Smith with several explosive playmakers might be just what Corral needs to succeed from day one. Even if Atlanta isn't high on Corral, they need to at least pull the plug on the Matt Ryan era. Cleveland Browns, Jimmy Garoppolo. The Browns would be wise to do with Baker Mayfield what the New York Jets did with Sam Darnold a year ago. Cut your losses and move on from the young QB. Baker just isn't cutting it. For whatever reason, he just hasn't been able to build off that incredible 2018 rookie year. Different coaches, a magnificent supporting cast, and an elite offensive line just haven't been enough to get him going. The Browns have too much talent on the roster to be mediocre, but that's what their offense has been with Mayfield. Cleveland needs to trade the 2018 first overall pick and look for an upgrade ASAP. The San Francisco 49ers are obviously moving forward with Trey Lance in 2022. When they put Garoppolo on the trade block, Browns GM Andrew Berry has to be on top of things. Garoppolo would work well in Kevin Stefanski's offense that has a lot of similarities to what Kyle Shanahan runs. You know, the frequent bootlegs and outside zone runs. Garoppolo has always had a good rushing game and a stout O-line in San Fran, and he was able to take them to a Super Bowl. So why can't he do the same in Cleveland? All the Browns need is a QB who can properly manage their run-first offense, and Jimmy G has proven that he's capable. The Seattle Seahawks, Malik Willis. Assuming the Seahawks trade Wilson, which would net them a bunch of early-round picks, they shouldn't think twice about this one. They need to take a quarterback in round 1 or round 2. Looking at the top QB prospects, it's hard not to be enticed by the idea of Malik Willis playing for Seattle. He's the dual-threat quarterback in this class, and Pete Carroll's run-first approach would make Willis the perfect fit here. Willis surpassed 800 rushing yards in his final 2 seasons at Liberty. Seattle could even feature him more as a runner than they did with Wilson. And although the O-line needs some work, Willis would have some strong playmakers in Chris Carson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett to work with. Seattle needs to rebuild, and trading away Wilson while bringing in a guy like Willis with a super high ceiling is the right way to start that rebuild. Washington football team, Baker Mayfield. Taylor Heinicke was a fun one-year story for Washington, but he's clearly not the long-term answer here. Heinicke would be a great backup, but the football team needs to bring in a different starter. And maybe, just maybe, Baker Mayfield is that guy. If the Browns trade Mayfield, and they should, as we just noted, Washington should try to make a move for him. Mayfield is in need of a fresh start, and he needs a coach who will straighten him out a bit. Ron Rivera is a renowned players coach who also won't put up with any nonsense. We wouldn't doubt his ability to help Mayfield regain his confidence in a new offensive system. Washington could very well take a chance on a QB in the first round, but what if the Browns make Mayfield available at a decent price? The football team should take the chance on the former first overall pick and see if they can unlock his potential. Sometimes a talented, underachieving QB just needs a fresh start. I mean, hey, just look at Ryan Tannehill. Pittsburgh Steelers, Matt Ryan. With Big Ben on his way out, it's time for the Steelers to make some calls and bring in a veteran QB as soon as possible. This team, especially the defense, is way too talented to enter a rebuilding phase with a young quarterback. The goal should be to find an established signal caller and try to win ASAP. The Atlanta Falcons should be motivated to move an aging Matt Ryan who carries just 2 more years on his deal. And Pittsburgh is the perfect landing spot for him. Ryan never had a good defense in Atlanta, but the Steelers own arguably the best D in the league, meaning Ryan wouldn't have to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every game just to have a chance to win. Ryan would enjoy playing with a Hall of Fame head coach in Mike Tomlin. There'd be no shortage of weapons at his disposal either. The Steelers have remained competitive despite Ben Roethlisberger's steep regression over the past few seasons. At this point in their respective careers, Ryan would be a huge improvement over Ben. And Pittsburgh is one simple quarterback upgrade away from being a force in the AFC once again. All the more reason for GM Kevin Colbert to pull the trigger. But what other NFL teams need a new starting QB in 2022? And who should they get? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.